Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you in real time from sunny Southern California, it is the KNKL Daily Show, number 10, with your host, Keenan Lafferty. Yes, that is right, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to be going into a little tutorial, and we are going to be working with a technique I call quickshading, and not... quickshading, not quickshitting. Oh my god. And it is hot in here, too. Alright, you know what? I'm just going to keep that. Let's go with it. And we're also going to be learning how to color lines as well. So here we go. I also downloaded a really cool application that will keep my ugly mug right up here for everybody to see constantly while we're drawing. Yes, very good. Very good. Alright, so we've got our character right here. Or should I say right there. And we'll be working with this technique called quick shading, like I said. I've already got the things on top of there, but I'll show you how to make a new the layer for it. So you've got your piece here. See, this is without the lines, and then the colors on separate layers, like that, right? Now what you're going to do is you're going to create a new layer. That's Shift-Control-N, which is the shortcut, and you'll have your new layer. And I usually like to put this behind the lines. So you got the lines here, and then this is going to be our quick shade layer. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go into your color selector, and usually I like to go with like a dark purple rule of thumb, just because that's probably going to be the most realistic looking shadow, and it's easy. But it depends on the piece, but I'll go into that in another tutorial. So for now, just use like a dark purple. So now you've got your brush, and you're going to be going into the opacity, and usually I lower the opacity of this layer to around like between 50 and 60%. And what's going to happen is you're going to be painting with this dark purple, but it's going to retain the properties of the color behind it. So depending on how hard you press, it's going to give you a different shadow. See, now basically what this allows you to do is to block in quick shadows. You determine your light source, say it's coming from up top here. You block in your shadows, and then you can also erase underneath to kind of give it a quick reflected light feeling too. But yeah, I mean, it's really, you can use it for whatever you want and kind of develop your own technique with it. But this is kind of how, in a piece, I'll just throw in quick shadows to kind of figure out how the piece is going to look once that light source gets put into it. And then depending on what type of, usually the skin won't have like a perfect purple shadow. It'll kind of be more like a reddish because of, it's a principle called subsurface scattering. It's kind of like if you hold up a piece of paper to the sun and how it shines through, it kind of creates that glow. It kind of like absorbs the light and then puts it back out again. But that again is another lesson for another time. The most important thing here is all you got to do is just pretty much throw in your shadows wherever you want. And you can use a soft brush too, if you'd like. I usually just like to work with a hard brush because it kind of gives it a cool edge. Kind of makes it a little more hard. But soft brushes work okay too. Just again, it depends on your style. And then erasing. So that's the basic idea. See, so now you've gone from your flat drawing to you've got your light source in there. Pretty sweet, huh? So from there, you're going to be going into a little technique I like to call line coloring. Well, it's not a very original name, but I like to call it that. And yeah, let's just pretend I made that up. So line coloring is up next. I'll give them a little bit of a cast shadow there too. Add a little atmosphere. A little atmosphere never hurt anybody. Unless you're plummeting through the atmosphere and you're catching on fire. But yeah, other than that, never hurt anybody. Alright. So now, oh, and the other cool thing. Okay, so say you're throwing down these shadows, right? And this is actually, it could work for skin. Say you were working with, see how this shadow looks weird on the eyes? See how it looks a little funny, right? I don't know, to me it looks a little bit like, because eyes are supposed to be a little bit more reflective. So a cool thing to do, especially in cartoon eyes, you can go in and you can actually change the color of the shadow. So if you go to your layer here, and then you click this little thing, lock transparent pixels, basically. Click that, and what that's going to do is whenever you paint over top of that layer, it's basically locked the transparent pixels, so you're forced to color where you've already colored. So it's really nice. So let's say we want to change that shadow from purple to like a bluish on his eyes. We'll kind of take like a medium blue there, and bam, hit that. And now watch this. When you paint over the shadows, see if I paint over here, it won't show. But as soon as I paint on the shadows, see, it's gonna change his eye color a little bit. I'll zoom in so you can see that a little better. See, so this one and that one, paint over it, it's more of a blue. And then if you say you wanted to make his little tummy like more reddish shadow rather than a purple one. And I'll kind of make it look like it has a little bit more of that. Say it's kind of turning it more orange. And it gives it a little bit more of a different material feeling. So see? The eyes still look a little weird to me. I don't know, maybe it wasn't too bad having them more of a purpley. Yeah, there we go. So you can kind of play with it, and you can just quickly be like, oh, I don't really like the way that looks, you know, or you can go in and just fix that. So I like that. So that is, in essence, how you do quick shading. Now we're going to be moving into a little thing that I've already said I like to call line coloring. So basically all you got to do for this is that same lock button right there, the lock transparent pixels, because you've painted your lines on a separate layer and you hit that, basically it's going to do the same thing. Everywhere that you already painted your lines, it's not going to allow you to paint over anywhere else. So in essence, you're able to color just the lines. So what I'm going to do here is you go from orange and then you kind of go to a darker version of that. And you can kind of play with the hues as well. Like you can make it more of a reddish. And then, zoom in here. When you paint over the lines, you can see what it's going to do here. It's very subtle, but you can see it's actually turning them red. And what this is going to do is it's going to push that picture to a different feel. It's going to look a little bit more professional. It's going to look a little more finished. And overall, it'll just make the picture a little bit nicer, a little easier on the eyes, I guess you could say. So these are just quick little techniques to, and also it helps you because when you're going to paint over, you can actually grab colors from that line and kind of make shadows and kind of blend it. So that way there's no more lines in the picture. Now for this yellow, I'm going to go something like kind of an orangey, dark orange. So you just go through. And then you don't always have to use the same color for, you know, everything. In fact, if you're shading things, oftentimes, see how it's really clear here, but over here it kind of loses it, kind of blends with the orange right there. What you can do is you can just go back in and be like, okay, well obviously I need to darken those lines. So you just pick a little bit of a darker color, you go back in where the shadows are, and you throw those in like that. See, so it allows kind of for like a little bit of a dynamic line. And it'll overall just improve the feeling of the picture. And opposite, like kind of how, see how it's dark here? You can go over here and be like, okay, I want these lines to be a little bit lighter. So you can go in here, throw that in, look at that, see? And then same thing over here. You can grab some lighter lines here. And that gives it a cool feeling too, as well. See, so now you're kind of moving into more like dynamic picture here. And then always, yeah, you never want to have black lines over the eyes. Let's go for like kind of a desaturated blue. That might look good. And it's really nice because with the pressure sensitivity of the tablet, you can also choose just right from the beginning where you want the lighter lines to be and then the darker ones to be just by how hard you press. So there you go. So that's usually how I I do most of my art kind of like that, more or less. You kind of just throw in the shadows, color the lines really quickly, but then we move into something that's called doing the paint over. And I'll show you that right here. Once you're done with all that, create one more layer on top. And then you're going to go in, and this is basically you saying, okay, I like everything, like this is the gist of the picture, now I'm going to start painting over top of everything, and then, you know, adding details, like say, like the shines on his eye. I like the shines to be a little bit more clean, like this. You can go in and paint those. You can give them like 2 ones. And then you can also go in, I'm a big fan of this, I always like just grabbing the eyedropper tool. One, because it's kind of easy, but it's kind of a habit, but it also is kind of cool to pull different colors from what's already existing on your palette, I guess you could say. I know some people have a thing where they'll do this, they'll like create a palette over here. They'll do something like that, and they'll kind of pull colors from there. And you can do that too, but I kind of like just grabbing like a color from the actual piece, and then I'll just paint it in somewhere, like here. See, so now what we've done is we've given him his irises. That kind of gives him a different look, and kind of drawing a little light here. Because the way that an iris works when you're drawing an eye is wherever the light is coming from, oh Jason light, wherever the light is coming from, the opposite part of the iris is going to be the part that's lit up. So if your light source is coming from the top left, in this picture, the bottom right of the iris is going to be lit up, just because of the shape of the eye and the way that it works. And then I always like to have the eyes kind of get darker towards the top. And then the surrounding part of the eye I'll just make like a darker version of whatever this is. So like a dark orange. So yeah, from here, like if there's anything that I want to fix, now I just start painting it. Like I won't go back into layers. I try not to, unless it's like something that really needs to like be done carefully. The only time I do layers is when you're kind of setting things up, or you kind of want to work a little bit more carefully. But personally, I like it when I get to the painting part, because you can be a little bit more, not necessarily sloppy, but free, I guess you could say. You can be like, oh, okay, well, I want that line to be a little bit shorter, so you just paint right over it. I want this to be a little bit thinner, so you just paint right over it. Throwing that in. You can add shadows. You can grab a shadow and be like, okay, I want a little bit of shadow underneath his eye here. Bam! You throw it in, just like that. A little bit like that. A little bit like that. And how long have we been going for? I think we've been going for like, I don't want to make a prediction because I know I'm going to be wrong and look stupid. So let's just say we'll go for about, we'll go for about 10 more minutes. I think we'll be good. So it's 4:45 right now. We'll stop at 4:55. Also, the only other thing that I actually do with a layer is the light layer. But you can also do that on the paint over as well. You can just take a lighter color, whatever you want, and then you start throwing it in there, like that. Let's give them a little bit of light down here. And really the key to, like, for me as of late is like, it's almost like when you're painting stuff, when you go for a light, you don't do this. Like, you don't go, okay, orange, and then we want the light to look like this, and then you start painting in the light like this. You know, that, like, that's a little too much. If anything, I'll add in like those lighter colors at the end. I've noticed in the beginning, the name of the game is just subtlety, honestly. Like, I really like subtle shadows, and I think they look cool, and they have a way of like affecting the picture, but not really like looking too hard, you know, like not that hard of a shadow. Again, it's all about like making it easy on the eyes. You want to make it easy on the eyes. So, like a good woman. Now, anyway, so we are going into this. So you can see, yeah, it's just painting over. That's all it is. You just paint over. And this is really the funnest part because all you do is just really, really simple things. It's like if you want something done, you just change it. You don't have to worry about layers. You don't have to worry about nothing. Go on and fix this little eye. Fix this eye a little bit. Now if you zoom out, see? Now he's got this cool little look to him. And if you take it away, you can see what it looked like before. See, so it's a little bit rough before you even start going into the painting layer. And once you put it on, see, it starts to kind of bring them together a little bit. It starts to make them look a little bit more polished, a little bit finished. And really, this will work with any picture that you want to do. You throw down the lines, you put in the colors, and throw in the quick shadow technique, or you just start shading it in whatever way that you like, whatever you're comfortable with. But I love the quick shade technique because it's just, again, it's just about quickness. It's a little bit quicker. Gives you a little bit of an edge when you're trying to work on your speed as an artist. That's a big thing, especially once you get into the professional world. It's almost more about how quickly can you do it rather than how good can you do it. I mean, it's good to be a good artist too, but you know, it's almost like in the business world, it's a little bit quantity over quality in some areas. It's best to not be. It's best to have the best of both worlds, but I guess what I'm saying is you gotta have like a balance. You gotta find that balance. And that's basically what I've been learning to do more than anything. Now, when it comes to, okay, when you're painting over things, sometimes it's a little bit problematic to do this. You'll be on the paint over layer and you'll paint white like that, right? Right, to bring in the thing closer. Now, the problem with that is when you go into put in a background, like say we're gonna have like just give them like a reddish background. When you go to put in the background, that white is gonna show there. So the way to alleviate that is, get rid of that right there. What I like to do is, before I start going into the background, I try not to worry about anything on the outside of the character, like his outlines. The only thing I paint over is everything that's inside of his silhouette. Now once you start doing a background, what you're going to do is you take the top layer of that with the paint overs, and then you shift click all the way to the bottom layer that comprise of Froggy Fires, or your character. And you hit group, you right click it, duplicate that group, okay, you merge it, and now basically, and then I kind of put that group behind the background just to save it in case I mess anything up. But basically what you've done here is now you've created a one layer version of your asset, your character. And now what you can do is you can go in and you can begin to erase the edges of him. That's just another quick way to clean up the edges of a character. And basically once you've gotten to this point, you've pretty much said, okay, I'm not going to go back in and do anything on the layers, which honestly you shouldn't have to anyway by this point. So I usually save this part for a little bit towards the end. And depending on the background, like sometimes, depending on the background and like the kind of style that you're trying to get, sometimes you can erase completely the line and it'll leave you with a look like that. And that's more of a realistic look. When you take out the line and you leave nothing but the color and the shading to create the shape, that's basically all realism is. The line represents basically a line of contrast in a drawing. And if you're creating your picture properly, you should be able to remove your lines and still have that form and look as clear as when the lines were there, if that makes sense. But yeah, basically that's what it is. The shading and the color are what create the form in any drawing when you take it from a cartoon to more of a realistic look. But I tend to like leave a little bit of lines in there just because I kind of like that. It's a little bit of a stylistic choice. But yeah, just in case you were curious about my philosophy on what makes a drawing look real. So with that, I think I've covered everything that I wanted to today. Got a few good things out of the way. For now, I will make my face a little bit bigger. So yeah, hopefully that opens up a little bit of insight into a little bit more of a play-by-play of how I go about making my pictures. And hopefully it helps you as well. Now, as far as the further shows will be going, I've been really kind of trying to just get really passionate about doing this again. And I've been playing a lot of League of Legends lately, like more than I should. And like, oh man, honestly, like I see it as a waste of time, and I really want to be doing this more. But it's tough because now that I'm working, or not necessarily working, but about to get a job doing art for another company. I have to work, 8 hours a day with my hand. I play games with my hand. I draw, in my own time with my hand. After a long time, my wrist starts to hurt. So it's like, oh man, I gotta like prioritize. It's almost like if I wanted to continue doing dailies, I'd need to give up video games altogether, which is a pretty scary thought to think about. So, but I really love the show, and I love doing it. It's just fun. It's a good way to talk, kind of get my feelings out. It's almost like a little online journal thing, So I really enjoy doing it, and it makes me happy to think that people would actually watch it and get entertainment from it. So with that, I think I will leave you. I will tell you knkldaily.blogspot.com. Go check it out. You can get to the Facebook page. And also, oh yeah, okay, for those of you who have watched this far, what I want to do is I want to do like a little bit of an experiment. I want to see if my Facebook page is actually operating properly. If you can draw something using one of these techniques, like the line coloring, the quick shade, or just actually anything, like if you have like a quick little character that you drew kind of that was inspired by this, and you want to post it on the Facebook page, I want you to go ahead and do that. You should be able to just go to the Facebook through the Blogspot page, the KNKL Daily Blogspot, and then you should be able to go to the Facebook right there, the link's there, and then you should be able to just post a picture up there. You can post it in, I'll put it in Tutorial Tuesday folder. Yeah, there will be a Tutorial Tuesday folder. Just open that and put your picture in there. I want to see if that'll actually work, if people can actually post in there, because what I'd like to eventually be able to do is I want to have like this Fun Day Monday thing where I'm like, okay, you guys got to do this and this and this, and then submit it to the Facebook. And then I want to have Tutorial Tuesday where people can, kind of mess around with that and then send in their thing, and I can see kind of how it helped them or whatever. And yeah, I want to start kind of getting you guys a little bit more involved. Hopefully I can make this show a little bit more personal or personable for you guys. So yeah, check that out. And yeah, make sure to follow me on Twitter, because I'll have the updates and when new shows go live on there. And yeah, I think that's about it. So thank you guys for tuning in to the 10th episode of the KNKL Daily, and I will talk to you guys next time.